with different with metal colors instead of the rainbow colors. And the Associated Press and Oregonian did an investigation, and these two Homeland Security guys call her, and they say, you're under investigation for terrorism. We can't tell you why. We're going to be there in the next week. Then they don't show up for a month. She's all freaked out, thinks she's involved in terrorism. They show up, and they say, how many of these magic cubes you got? She goes, 10 of them. They go, take them off your shelves, or we're going to arrest you for terrorism right now. They said terrorism. She said, I thought it was like Al-Qaeda. They said, no, infrastructure protection, you're violating the infrastructure. And don't ever tell anybody we were here. I mean, we're real Homeland Security, or you'll be arrested. Well, she didn't do that. She went public. She found out it was completely legal. It was on Toys R Us shelves everywhere. But there's some underlying agenda by the feds to go after mom and pops. And under the BATF laws, black powder or prior manufacture to 1879, you're allowed to have them. So I wasn't surprised, because I know they go after antique dealers for these antique firearms that you can't even buy cartridges for. Of course, you can buy a black powder gun without a license. And then, of course, a lot of these big stores sell little toy slot machines and other stuff. Here you have stuff worth all this money. There was a fellow I interviewed about 4 years ago. He lives in a small town outside of Tucson, Arizona, and this was in the major Tucson paper. Now I'm going to shut up and get out of here and let you guys continue and just continue. I'm not enjoying hearing it. It's horrifying. None of us are safe. But this fella, he had always had a hidden video camera in the wall with a VCR in the back room because he'd been robbed once years before. He had been there like decades, old gun shop, and he was also a gunsmith. Well, the city passed a law that gun shops were considered pawn shops. He didn't know about it. Nobody told him. The BATF had lobbied for it statewide, and they'd gotten some cities to pass it. The day after it became law, they raided him, and he had all these antique firearms, all these guns that are worth like $15,000 a piece. These lever-action Winchesters, gold carved. That's what he specialized in. And thank God, and we've gotten the tape. It's been on the web. We've interviewed him. Gunners of America got it. He had hidden video after they'd arrested him and taken him out. The BATF's bragging, my God, we're going to get hundreds of thousands for this, and they're fighting over who's going to get to sell them. So it's a criminal mafia, just like Hearst Publishing is synonymous with yellow journalism and Rosebud and the whole Citizen Kane, Randolph Hearst. BATF go back to the whiskey rebellions. Yep. They were the first federal agency, and you'd pay them off to let you run your still and not pay the whiskey tax. And sometimes you had to pay with your woman. And so they've always been criminal. They're the most criminal people in the federal government. They're cowardly scum, and they're going to sell. He might have bought that stuff for $76,000, but they're probably going to sell that for hundreds of thousands, and nothing's going to stop them because they're criminals.
Well, and this is the same MO. Let me go back to Mack on this, because when I hear you talk about the lady with the Rubik's Cubes, and we read this story, we see that there was a policy of don't ask any questions and don't tell anyone about this. Mack, you cover this in your story. They threatened him that they would raise the temperature on him if he went out and went public with this story.
Actually, what happened was he went public. And a couple of days after this appeared in the local media there in northwestern Montana, those agents showed up again in his shop, and they were angry with him. They said, well, you're making us look bad. And they said, we're going to turn up the heat if you keep talking to the media. And not only that, Cowboy around at this time, he had a camera with him. He took a picture of them, which they didn't like that, and they were able to intimidate him into deleting the photograph, unfortunately.
Well, I don't want to give too much away about myself, but just let it be known. Hidden cameras in my office, hidden cameras on my home. I'll just say I get neighbors to have hidden cameras on me. This is the most important thing we can all do. You've seen the stuff where we have cameras hidden in the car and get the cops doing stuff.
Yeah.
This is how we've got to operate in this system. It's going so criminal. But I'm going to shut up and keep listening. But, see, I haven't even read Mack's story. I just tuned in and heard this, and there you go. They're telling him, you need to shut up. Well, all the bullies and all the criminals at every level of government, we're not backing down from your intimidation anymore. We're taking down your New World Order.
Hey, thanks for your input, Alex. Infowars.com. Of course, the Alex Jones Show precedes this one 5 days a week on this very network. Alex, thank you again for your comments. Mack, let's go back to you and this story. He was told not to talk about this. They would raise the pressure. I mean, talk about who are the terrorists. So these people are threatening him in a way that could really be defined by every semantical argument of the term terrorist as terrorizing this guy. Well, now we're broadcasting this on a 5,000-watt station in Montana, okay? So I'm glad he did the right thing and didn't back down, Mack.
Yes, that's right. And, so far, until this afternoon, this hasn't been hardly covered anywhere outside of Montana. But he was not intimidated. He did go to the local media. And the funny thing is that this has turned into a bit of a problem for the Montana government. Who knows what was actually going to be done to those items that were, I think, stolen. They said to him at the time, well, they're just going to be destroyed. Well, now the director of the Montana's Gambling Investigation Division has said publicly that what's going to happen to them is they're going to be donated to a state museum.
Or they'll be retained for training purposes.
Or training purposes, whatever that means.
Well, and that would be assuming that Cowboy Ron sits back and does nothing about this. I assume there will be at least some measure to get his property back, and hopefully what we'll do is we'll have enough people by his side to make that happen. Look, we're making them look bad. You know, I break into your house, I steal your property, I rape your woman, and you tell people about it. You're making me look bad, okay? Mack White will come right back with us, folks, after this. Stay tuned. Deadline Live.
You're free, and freedom is beautiful. And, it'll take time to restore chaos and order, but we will.
Tell your sisters and your brothers the vision is a new world order. That's rancid. Life won't wait. Mack White with us, MackWhite.com, and that will lead you to all the other Mack White websites, his radio show, his blog. His blog is MackWhite.blogspot.com, and he is on MySpace/Mack White. You need to add him today and support his work. He really is everything he looks like he is. He is a cowboy, folks. He wears the cowboy hat and exemplifies, I think, the best part of the Old West and what we know here, what used to be called the Republic of Texas. Mack, thank you for joining us in the program today. This is the second story out of Montana. We've had a report like this in the last year. Of course, Rick Salata still fighting the BATF, the alphabet agencies, literally was raided by the Canadian Mounties along with all these other alphabet agencies in his home in Montana, where they turned his house upside down, shut down his business, confiscated all of his inventory with KT ordinance, and just like Cowboy Ron Turner, he's standing up to them, which is the lesson here. People are going to say, what can we do? Number one, we can help these people out, and that's what we try to, that's why we talk about it on our program, is to get them some help. But the most important thing is for you to stand up for yourself and stand up against this tyranny and not just take it lying down.
Yeah, people need to go to the blog there that I've got and to read the links to the stories about what happened there to Cowboy Ron. And there is so much more than we were able to cover in this show.
How is the media handling this? Are they being fair to Cowboy Ron Turner?
They really are. That is the great thing, is that in that particular part of Montana, at least, I tell you, if you judge by the news stories that I have linked in my blog, you will see that they have given him very good coverage. The problem is that they keep these things so localized, there has been almost no coverage outside of Montana. And I just urge people to go there and get those links to those news stories and to send them all over the place.
And not only that, if you have the time, write back to these newspapers that you've linked to on your blog site and write letters to the editor.